What's up? The doctor's back in the office today. We're going to be doing a little card breakdown and predictions for UFC Vancouver, UFC Fight Night, Rainier DeRitter versus Brendan Allen. Decent card overall. There's a decent amount of like good names on here. You know, not the most stacked fight night we've had, but it's a step up. It's not like UFC Noche where I really didn't give two shits about anybody. But I like this card, and it's also probably better than UFC Perth also. So let's get into this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's go. Starting off, elite fight. One that keeps you up at night. Personally, I've been shaking waiting to predict this fight. Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. Bantamweight fight. Being the prelims opener. And I'm going to go with Tainara Lisboa. She's a kickboxer. She's got, you know, a kickboxing background. She also has some submission wins in the UFC. She's 2-1 in the UFC. Croden, she's a LFA chick. This is her UFC debut. And fun fact about Tainara Lisboa, she fought Valentino Shevchenko in like Muay Thai and in some kickboxing matches like 15 years ago. She lost them, but you know, it's a little fun fact about her. She's got some competition in there. And Croden, she's pretty much fought nobody. I mean, LFA is a shit organization. The UFC feeder organization, she really has no strong experience. This will be a classic 29-28 decision win for Tainara Lisboa. Moving up the card, we go to Azamat Bekoev versus Yusri Belgaroui. I butchered both their names. I think it's Bekoev. We'll go Azamat and then Belgaroui. Yusri he's a Alex Pereira training partner. This guy, he's really tall. He's very lanky. He's a kickboxer. He fought in Glory. He actually trains with Pereira, as I said, at Glover's gym, and he fought him twice, lost both. You know, just he did that. He also fought Izzy when he was in Glory and lost. Azamat, he's 2-0 in the UFC. He's got some really nasty finishes. And then Yusri, he's 1-1 in the Contender Series. I think he lost his first fight and then fought a can in his second one and then knocked him out in, I think, the third round. Azamat, he's very well-rounded. He could strike. He has good KO power, along with decent grappling. And Yusri, he just lacks really experience in MMA. All of his experience mostly comes from... from kickboxing. So I'm kind of leaning towards Azamat to get an early or maybe a mid-round finish in this. I think his Yusri's length and his size can stop this from maybe being a first-round knockout. But I think Azamat, he does a really nice job just working the body, and he has some really nice overhands in his arsenal, and he also is going to mix in the takedowns as well. So I'm going to think he wobbles Yusri in the second round, and then knocks him out by ground and pound TKO. That's what I'm leaning towards. This guy's a decent prospect. I like him. Obviously, 20-3 record stands out, but he's also, you know, Russian. So those Dagestanis, they just fight fucking serfs for most of their, their amateur and regional scene until they get there. But he's legit. Moving up the card we go, though. Kyle Propolec versus Drew Dober. Drew Dober, the minority killer. We all remember that. He's on a 3-fight skid currently. I don't really... Actually, this fight get moved around, or no, I skipped the fight. Why would I do that? Sorry. Stephanie Luciano versus Ravina Oliveira. This is a low-level women's fight. The first one I kind of at least had, Tainara Lisboa, she's a decent kickboxer. I knew I skipped up a fight. I don't know what the fuck I was doing there. How dare I disrespect these women? Both these guys not great. Stephanie Luciano, she almost beat our girl Sam Hughes, that was the first fight we ever broke down on this channel, was Sam Hughes versus Shauna Bannon. Everybody knows my girl Shauna B, the female McGregor. Luciano, she almost beat Sam Hughes, who's decent. You know, Sam Hughes got some decent wins on her resume. And Oliveira, fun fact about her, she has the same last name as Charles Oliveira. Luciano, at the end of the day, she's just better. I don't really have much more to say about this. This is another classic 29-28 women's fight. Now we move up the card to a lightweight bout between Kyle Propolec versus Drew Dober. Drew Dober, the minority killer, as I already said, this guy's beat up on a lot of minorities. Some say he's racist. They say Drew Dober is very racist. I don't. He's a great guy, Drew Dober, American, Denver, Colorado. They have great people out there. Listen, Propolec, he's coming off his last fight was a loss against Benoit Saint Denis. He survived that round 1 and then rocked him a little bit in round 2 before he got finished. Fun fact also about Kyle Propolec, this guy, I think he fought Kevin Lee on the regional scene, and he hasn't won a fight in the UFC yet. I think this is like his second stint. Drew Dober, this guy's been in the UFC for like 12 or 15 years, something crazy like that. And he's on a 3-fight losing streak now. The 3 dudes that he lost to are all like legit guys and names. I think first fight he lost like of this skid was Moicano, and that was a decision. Then he got finished by Jean Silva, and then Manuel Torres also finished him. The one thing that worries me in this fight is his chin's cooked now. I mean, especially the Manuel Torres finish. And Manuel Torres, he's a legit guy. He's got legit one punch knockout power, guys. This guy's a different animal. Manuel Torres, he's tough, but he knocked Drew Dober out pretty bad. But I can't really see Kyle Propolec doing any of that. I don't even know if this guy's really UFC caliber. He hasn't won a fight in the UFC. He's 36. He hasn't done shit. Credit to him that he rocked BSD a little bit, but this was also before BSD had the new coach and everything, and BSD doesn't move his head, and he's prone to getting chinned a little bit. So, whatever. That really doesn't impress me that much. Old BSD, it's not like new BSD where he's moving a little bit different. Dober should be able to beat up on a shit can like this. I know he's 27-15, so he's got so much fighting experience, but I think he could at least squeak this one out. Obviously, the chin being busted worries me, but I just think overall he's better than Kyle Propolec. Propolec does really nothing special. I'm going to go Drew Dober by round 2 TKO, round 2 finish for my guy, Drew Dober. Moving up the card, we go to Danny Barlow versus Jourdain Santos. Danny Barlow's decent, honestly. 9-1 professional record versus Jourdain Santos 10-2. The last, Danny Barlow's his last fight was against Sam Patterson, who had that really nasty finish over Trey Waters at UFC Paris or UFC France, whatever it was. I think that was the card it was on. And that was a sick fight. Sam Patterson's really fucking legit, so I don't really even look at that as a bad loss for Danny Barlow. Danny Barlow, the fight before that, he won over Nikolai Veredikov, who just fought Punele Soriano a week or two ago. I like Danny Barlow. I think he's decent. I don't really have much to say for Jourdain Santos. He's coming off a loss to Ozzy Diaz, who sucks, and his life was just spared because he didn't have to fight Otebe Gauthier. But it was a competitive loss, so I guess you could say that. I think Barlow should just be fighting somebody who's a little bit better than Jourdain Santos, and he's overall more athletic and well-rounded. And I'm going to take him by round 2 TKO. Danny Barlow, round 2. We picked a lot of finishes so far. I hope that's the case. Up the card we go to probably the first, maybe the second fight I care about in terms of names. Bruno Silva versus Hung Sung Park. Hung Sung Park, everybody remembers he filled in short notice for, was it Zahabi who he came in to fill in for? No, Zahabi's a bantamweight, so it doesn't even make any sense. I forget who it was, but whoever was supposed to fight Tatsuo Taira in the Apex, Hung Sung Park, he filled it and then got finished with like a face crank or something. It could have, Tatsuo Taira, he's fucking legit, so it really isn't that bad of a loss. Bruno Silva, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, and the 2 dudes he lost to are pretty good. He lost to Manel Kopp, and Joshua Van got finished by round 3 by both. I mean, Joshua Van fucking styled on him. Park, I look at him this way. He's a younger fighter. He's a great grappler, and you could say all you want. Oh, he was shown levels by Tatsuo Taira, but Taira is one of the ones. I think if he beats Brandon Moreno, he could be whatever the next guy to fight Pantoja for the belt, and he's legit. Silva is definitely dangerous. I mean, this guy, his entire UFC career has been dangerous. I think he's 14th or 15th ranked right now. And he has plenty of nasty finishes in the UFC. And sometimes I'll say this about Hung Sung Park, and some people might say you're being a little bit racist, but Koreans and especially Asians in the UFC, the modern era, have just been tough to trust. They usually suck. Hung Sung Park, I wouldn't throw him under the he's not a trash Asian. He definitely has some skill. But it's just like a rule of thumb. Sometimes these dudes are just ass. So, yeah, but honestly, as I put that out there, I still am not going to go with Bruno Silva. I think he's slowed down and looked a lot worse lately. And Park, he can really threaten some submissions after I think he's going to threaten submissions and draw after dropping him. And then if he's not able to get some kind of like, you know, face crank or rear naked choke, I think he's going to just finish him by ground and pound TKO. I mean, listen, I'll say this. I think as a underdog, I do like Bruno Silva at plus 200. Like if you're betting, and honestly, I'm probably going to do this. I'm probably going to put money on Bruno Silva because I do think this fight is close. I don't think Hyung Sung Park is particularly anything special. And I think Bruno Silva, his last 2 losses are against really legit guys. But I just can't. I just think he has looked a little bit slower, and he's old. He's almost 36, and I just don't think he's that same guy anymore. So I'm gonna go with Hyung Sung Park by. We've got a billion. Maybe this is just the card of round 2 TKOs and finishes. Up the card we go to Charles Jourdain versus Davy fucking Grant, mate. I just tried to do an Australian accent with an English, and it failed miserably. What a matchup this is. I'm actually pretty excited for this. Davy Grant, the last time he was on a card that I haven't broke down anything on the channel with him, but the last time like I was on Tapology and picked against him was that Damon Blackshear fight. And I really thought Damon Blackshear was legit and was going to beat Davy Grant. Shame on me, though. I think he's, this is a guy who's he's the definition of a fucking crafty vet, Davy Grant. I always pick against him, and every single time that he's an underdog, he fucking wins. At this case, it's like near even odds, so it doesn't really apply the same. But Davy Grant's one of the fucking goated unks. That's all you got to know about Davy Grant. Jourdain, his last 2 losses, he had that tricky loss to Sean Woodson, where Sean Woodson, beat him, fair. It went to a split decision, even though I don't think it really was. And he also lost to John Silva, so he's lost to 2 names. The one thing I'll say about Charles Jourdain, obviously a 10-year gap in age here. I feel like he can make it scrappy enough for Davy Grant. And eventually, Davy Grant just got to fucking lose. Like, he can't just keep being this unk. You know what I mean? I think Jourdain, he can mix in his grappling. And he has some nice guillotines in his career, too. He can get submission victories, even though I don't think his offensive grappling is anything special. He's still a submission threat in the octagon. He's faster. He beats you to the punch. Obviously, Davy Grant, he's very tough. He can walk you down, and he has beautiful body shots and nice hooks in his game. But I'm leaning Jourdain, and I'm probably going to fucking regret it. I do feel pretty bad going against Davy Grant. This is a guy who he's gained my respect throughout the years as I've continued to pick against him. And I guarantee he's probably going to win because I'm picking against him. But I think Charles Jourdain's just bigger, stronger. I'm going to take him by round 3 finish. I think maybe he gets him up against the cage, drops him, and then finishes him on the ground. Clip this. That 60 people that watch this video could clip this and be like, "Oh, you don't know how'd you pick against Davy Grant again? How'd you do that, mate? Oh my days, you picked against Davy Grant." That'd be a shame. But I'm gonna lean Charles Jourdain. And as you can see, it's a pretty split matchup. But I like Charles Jourdain by 3rd round finish. Again, we've picked finishes, I think, in almost every fight except the women's fight. But that's gonna change here. Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. Shout out Long Island, baby. I know Matt Frevola. I think he fights out of Tampa, Florida now. But he's the fucking boy. I'm always rocking with my Long Island and New York guys. So Frevola, the thing about Matt Frevola, he's fought a lot of names. He lost to Arman. He got finished by Terrence McKinney a couple years ago. He finished Drew Dober, lost to BSD, and then his last fight he got knee to the face by Fares ZM, who's legit. Kyle Nelson, on the other hand, he's lost to Diego Ferreira many years ago. Also lost to Jai Herbert. He had a draw with Ju Choi back in 2023, and his last fight was over a year ago when he got finished pretty nasty, finished by Steve Garcia, and that was back in featherweight, and that was a beautiful fucking finish by Steve Garcia. Matt Frevola, he's off back-to-back losses, so that and he's old, so it's like, is this a downturn in his career kind of moment? But Frevola, I think he can get Kyle Nelson in tough spots in grappling exchanges. And as I say that, I also contradict myself because he gets chinned very easily now. But I don't really think Kyle Nelson has the finishing power to finish Matt Frevola. And I think Frevola's overall just a more dangerous, well-rounded fighter. He has more experience, and he has better finishing power. So I'm going to lean Matt Frevola by unanimous decision in this one. I'm not super confident in this. There might be a little Long Island bias here, but I'm going to rock with my guy, Matt the Steamroller Frevola. Up the card we go to Cody Gibson. Now, let me get this name right. Aoriqileng. That's how you say that, I'm pretty sure. Listen, I don't know much about these guys. I think this is this the second fight in the main card? Second fight in the main card. I forgot to announce the last one was the opener of the main card. Aoriqileng has really done nothing in the UFC. Has done nothing impressive. He really has zero grappling in his game. And the Asian point that I pointed about Young Sung Park, it definitely applies to Aoriqileng. This guy sucks. You can't trust him. I don't even know how he has 25 wins. I mean, the Chinese fight comp over there in Inner Mongolia, China, must absolutely suck. He must fight the Sheen fucking factory workers, honestly, because this guy's not very good. But I don't think Cody Gibson's also that good. I think this is like his third stint in the UFC. Wait, also about Aoriqileng, I think one of his last fights, he got finished by Amin Zahabi, and then lost his last fight to Chiwibis. Gibson, again, Cody Gibson, this is like his third stint in the UFC. He fought Aljo like 11 years ago and then lost his last fight to Devon Blackshear. And again, neither one of these dudes has done shit in the UFC. I think he did look okay at moments in that Devon Blackshear fight, watching it back. And he throws a lot more volume and he applies more pressure. And Aoriqileng, he's prone to just getting walked down. Like, you can apply pressure to this guy pretty easily. So I'm leaning towards Cody Gibson. Chinese fighters will never get me going. Minyang Zhang's kind of like the only guy that semi-intrigues me. I have zero clue why this fight is so high on this fucking card. These guys are not good. Like the Charles Jourdain, Davey Grant, Frevola, Kyle Nelson, all of those are better fights than this. The UFC, their placement of fights sometimes is so confusing. But anyway, I'm going to go with Cody Gibson over Aoriqileng by unanimous decision. Probably the fight I care the least about on this card. Up the card we go to the highlight of the women's fights on this card. Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jourdain. We'll just call her Jazz. You like Jazz. Jazz, she's a Canadian, so maybe a little Canadian boost for my girl. Fiorot, Manon had a nice last fight against Shevchenko where she actually almost beat him, and she's tough to take down. Jasmine, most of her fights, she wins by she takes you down and then she just mauls you on the ground. But if she can't do that, then she gets pieced up pretty bad. Like Natalia Silva really pieced her up in one of her last few fights. Fiorot, she really did have a close fight against Valentina Shevchenko, who's one of the best women's fighters ever. I don't think Jasmine has the striking like in her arsenal to win this fight, and I think 3 rounds is just going to favor Fiorot. I mean, I can't figure out if I want to call her Manon or Fiorot. The beast. Like, she just has better cardio. She's fought 5-rounders before. I think this favors her in 3 rounds. I think it's going to be mostly low output, where the beast, she just stuffs takedowns most of the time. Jasmine gets frustrated. She doesn't really do anything. Not much is going to be thrown in this. That's why I'm going to lean her by decision. Maybe a 30-27. We'll go a little variation here. Maybe she really dominates a round. Up the card we go, though. Chito Vera, anybody knows me personally, he's one of my guys, versus Amin Zahabi. And Amin Zahabi's not one of my guys, but Chito Vera fucking sucks right now, so that's kind of the problem. He's so done. What was his last fight? Was the O'Malley fight, and he also lost before that to Davison Figueiredo. He hasn't had a win over 2 years, and his last finish, I can't believe this, his last finish was over a washed Dominic Cruz, where Dominic Cruz was piecing him up in that fight, too. I think Chito Vera had like a kick to the head in that fight, and that's how he knocked him out. This guy, he really hasn't done anything in years. He used to be a force. I used to like the Marlon Chito Vera edits. I think any well-rounded fighters or just not stupid fighters probably beat him. And he's pretty easy to game plan against because he really does nothing special. If you take him down, you pretty much win the fight. Chito Vera, his entire game is built around if he can fluke something on you. And it's a real shame because I do like this guy. I think he's pretty cool. And I hate Amin Zahabi. I mean, we all remember his last fight over fucking Jose Aldo, where he was literally getting his ass kicked. I'll say this about Amin Zahabi. He gritted out some spots in that, but it was ridiculous. Jose Aldo fucking won that fight. That was pathetic. I will say this about Amin Zahabi. He comes from a good team. Where's he train at again? Hold on, He trains at TriStar, which is what? That's GSP's gym. So he has a good gym and a good team that'll give him a good game plan. He's a smart fighter. He doesn't do anything I don't think he's particularly special, but he is smart, and I think he has enough power to win this fight. I think he'll mix in his takedowns well enough, which what you have to do against Cheeto Vera. And he's just going to wear Cheeto down. And he's also tough. And I think Cheeto Vera at this point, he's just a punching bag. This guy just gets punched in the face. He eats knees from Sean O'Malley. He just gets his ass beat for a couple rounds. Doesn't really do much. Doesn't really get knocked out. But I think he's just going to be a punching bag. And Eamon Zahabi's going to get some fucking decision. And you're going to be like, oh, he's going to get some boring ass decision. And I think every single fight so far on the main card, I picked to go to decision. Except Charles Jourdain. That's actually not a main card. So clearly a big change in what I was doing with the prelims, where I picked every single fight to go by fucking finish. But that's gonna change here when we got our boy Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. Mike Malott, what's he coming off that win over Charles Radke? Charles Radke's a loser anyway, but Kevin Holland, as weird as it gets, let's be honest, guys. I mean, his 2025 so far. Let me read out his 2025. Started off in like January, where he got submitted by RDR. Also RDR, another guy who obviously in the main event who's been extremely active. Then he beats Gunnar Nelson in his next fight, I think by decision. Subs Vicente Luque nasty. It was that Darce choke or whatever, Anaconda choke. And then he loses to fucking D-Rod. And now you're on your 5th fight of the year. It feels like 100. I actually, the funny thing is, like the D-Rod fight, what fucking card was that? Was that the Holloway card? Whatever card it was. Like that feels like forever ago. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I haven't seen Kevin Holland on my screen in a while. Not that I'm necessarily complaining, but I do like Kevin Holland. So it is good to see him on my screen. I know kind of a lot of people hate him because he doesn't take his job seriously, but whatever. He's incredibly weird. And the fact that this dude lost to D-Rod is just so fucking sad. And that's what, if he beat D-Rod and somehow this was a fight that got matched up, obviously be slamming Kevin Holland on this. But it's tough. But Mike Malott, I think he's 5-1 in the UFC, and his only losses to the GOAT Cockroach and Unk, Neil Magny, where like Mike Malott, he had some like decent moments in there, but then he kind of just Neil Magny kind of just found a spot, and then what did he sub him? He finished him in that fight. I don't really remember exactly what happened. And also, Mike Malott, does he get a boost because he's Canadian? I mean, there's not a ton of Canadians on this card. Maybe there is, but I don't know how many if I've actually picked. But maybe he gets a boost because he's Canadian. You know what I mean? I think. Listen, this is my brain says. I think he wins by submission, and then there's 2 scenarios I think happen here. I think Mike Malott wins by submission. And then Holland goes on a run where he wins like 3 fights in a row after this. How he got wobbled by D-Rod again is embarrassing. But also, this is kind of where I'm going to actually show my pick. This is a classic fight where everybody's just been doubting Kevin Holland. They say he sucks. I mean, he does suck most of the time. And maybe he shows out this time and wins. And then everybody's like, oh, Kevin Holland. People forget, man. I mean, this guy, he sub Vicente Luque. You know what I mean? Listen, actually, the result of this fight literally doesn't matter whatsoever for Kevin Holland, because win or lose, he's going to be fighting in December at like whatever the last Apex event for ESPN. So, whatever. I'll say this about Kevin Holland in terms of his losses. Of all the guys I named out, the dudes he loses to are usually bigger than him, just by size, and a lot stronger and use their physicality, kind of just bitch him. You know what I mean? And Mike Malott, I don't really think is going to do that. I don't think he's big enough. I think Kevin Holland can do a lot of weird shit on the feet, and has like intriguing BJJ that he can crack Mike Malott and then just finish him on the ground with a Darce. I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to get a knockdown in like the 2nd or 3rd round, and then he's going to get a submission via Darce choke. I don't know why I can't fucking speak to that. But Kevin Holland, he's going to win by 3rd round submission. Darce choke, that's like, he loves those fucking like head chokes. That sounded dumb. That was really unintelligent by me. Excuse me. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm risking my reputation by picking Kevin Holland to do anything at this point. People might call me a casual. Some may say, you don't know ball. I stick with my guys on this channel. That's what everybody knows. Kevin Holland, I don't care how many times this guy loses, how many times this guy messes up a parlay, how many times this guy messes up pick for me. I'm probably going to continue picking him if I really don't think the other guy is significantly better than him. Moving on to the main event, and I can't believe Kevin Holland is a co-main, just saying. I know he's a name, but it is ridiculous. Rainer de Ritter versus Brennan Allen in the main event. Obviously, it really sucks because we were robbed of an RDR versus Fluffy matchup, and that would have been fucking cinema. It would have been, some may say that might have been the winner of that fight's Hamzat for the belt. But I think this works out better because it gives Imavov, you know, the rightful shot to be the number one contender. That he was already. But whatever. Brendan Allen, I think he can give some problems to RDR. Listen, I'm saying RDR is winning this fight. I'm not really deviating from that. And Brendan Allen also the nerve to say in some of these pre-fight press conferences that he's not impressed with anything RDR is saying. Well, Brendan Allen, I'm actually impressed by nothing you've done recently. Like, you had that fight with Marvin Vettori, where there was all this buildup because you fought each other in a casino or whatever, and you didn't really do shit in that fight. You know what I mean? That was pretty boring. So for you to call, say, Reinier de Ridder, nothing really impresses you, and you're going to come in here and fuck him up, that's a lie. And I think you're decent, but you're also dumb as a rock. You have zero fight IQ. Again, before that Vettori fight, Brendan Allen, he had lost to, what, Fluffy and Imavov. So he's just a tier below these top guys, and I think RDR is a lot closer to that. But listen, and also before that, I know I'm kind of giving a recap. He did beat Chris Curtis and then subbed my GOAT, Paul Craig. Brendan Allen, he has decent boxing. I think it's underrated. I don't really think he moves enough around the octagon to kind of disrupt RDR. Like, he's not as kind of wiry or as lungy as kind of like a Robert Whittaker. That was RDR's last fight. But I think he can do well in scrambling and wrestling. I think early on, he'll shoot a takedown in round one. I think he'll get a lot of control time early, and then maybe at the end of the round, RDR stands up. I could definitely see Brendan Allen having a nice first round, and he could win the round. And again, with RDR, I'll say this. His Whittaker performance, some could walk away disappointed because it's like, you know, we were hyping this dude up to be this fucking, you know, sick. Prospect's kind of hard to say about this guy because he's 35. But you know what I mean? Like, you're building this dude up and then wash Robert Whittaker, who's still good. He's still decent. Really was styling on him at points and really fucking, you know, he almost finished them. But also you could be like, well, Robert Whittaker's not fully washed, and it was a nice win for RDR. That's kind of where I lean. It wasn't my favorite RDR performance, but he really, I mean, the knees to the body, absolutely devastating. He survived so many times, so it's like, I can't really hate an RDR. I don't think Brendan Allen gets pushed around in this fight. I think it's going to look just goofy for most of this fight. The goofy goober himself, RDR. Again, Allen, he does really nothing special. I think he does some things good and has a decent arsenal, but he leaves his fights way too close. And against RDR, that's not going to work. And this fight's not going to fucking decision. I think RDR is going to attack the body, maybe sub him. Allen doesn't move around the octagon as much, and RDR can time, you know, any takedowns or any kind of close exchanges with his knee, or anything to the body. Brendan Allen's a guy he's not really going to hurt you from range. He's got to get inside, and if you try and get inside an RDR, you're gonna get fucked up. It's gonna get ugly for you, as my dad would say. Again, I just want to reiterate before I officially lock in this pick, we were robbed of a really historic, great fight night main event of Fluffy versus RDR. Here's where I'm saying. I think RDR gets a round 3 finish. He's going to get a knee to the body, drop him somewhere along the fence, and he's going to get a submission, probably takes his back. Brendan Allen's just too stupid. He has decent skills, but I don't think he's good enough to win. Again, credit to him for stepping on short notice. I know it's not totally short notice fight, but you know, still credit to him. At least I'm definitely gonna watch this. Obviously, I'm fucking doing this, but I think I could get at least casuals to watch because Brendan Allen's a bit of a name, not particularly a great name, but you know, he is a name in itself. But I think RDR is just gonna dominate him probably in round 2 and 3 and get the finish. And for the future of RDR, I don't know what's next. I want to see him versus Drickus for his next fight, because he's not, you know, RDR is not getting a title shot next. You know what I mean? So I think Drickus versus RDR would be a good matchup, while we have Imavov versus Hamzat for the belt. That's my card breakdown. Again, kind of a shorter video because, you know, it's a fight night. There's a lot of fights on here of guys I don't particularly, you know, care too much for, but it's got enough names that I think it's an intriguing card to tune into. And again, next week we have Tom Aspinall versus Jourdain, you know, Umar versus Mario Batista. That card's fucking stacked. Jesus, I'm dying over here in Saudi Arabia, and it's early in the day, so that's nice. I don't have to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning to watch Tom Aspinall beat Jourdain's ass for a minute. But that's the card breakdown of UFC Fight Night. Reinier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. Let me know what you guys think of the comments. Let me know what kind of where you're leaning. If you guys want any gambling picks, just text me on the fucking side. And yeah, we also got destroyed last week because we took Charles by a third round guillotine or third round submission. You got it in 2. That's whatever. Again, thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you guys want to see any different kinds of videos. Thank you. Doctor is signing off. Oh shit, hold on. I hit save on the picks. The doctor is signing off.